David hears of Saul's death. After the death of Saul, David returned from striking down the Amalekites and stayed in Ziklag 2 days. On the third day, a man arrived from Saul's camp with his clothes, stone and dust on his head. When he came to David, he fell to the ground to pay him honor. Where have you come from? David asked him. Answered, I have escaped from the Israeli camp. What happened? David asked. Tell me. The men fled from the battle. He replied, many of them fell and died, and Saul and his son Jonathan are dead. Then David said to the young man who brought him the report, how do you know that Saul and his son Jonathan are dead? I happened to be on Mount Gilboa, the young man said, and there was Saul, leaning on his spear, with the chariot and their drivers in hot pursuit. When he turned around and saw me, he called out to me, and I said, what can I do? He asked me, who are you? An Amalekite, I answered. Then he said to me, stand here by me and kill me. I am in the throes of death, but I am still alive. So I stood beside him and killed him, because I knew that after he had fallen, he could not survive. And I took the crown that was on his head and the band on his arm, and have brought them here to my Lord. Then David and all the men with him took hold of their clothes and told them. They mourned and wept and fasted till evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the army of the Lord, and for the nation of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. David said to the young man who brought him the report, where are you from? I am the son of a foreigner on Amalek. He answered. David said, why weren't you afraid to lift your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed? Then David called on one of his men and said, go strike him down. So he struck him down and he died. For David had said to him, your blood be on your own head. Your own mouth testified against you when you said, I killed the Lord's anointed. David's lament for Saul and Jonathan. David took up this lament concerning Saul and his son Jonathan, and he ordered that the people of Judah be taught this lament of the bow. It is written in the book of Yasar. A gazelle lies slain on your height, Israel. How the might have fallen. Tell it not in Gath, proclaim it not in the streets of Ascalon. Lest the daughters of the Philistines be glad, and lest the daughters of the uncircumcised rejoice. Mountains of Gilboa, may you have neither dew nor rain. May no showers fall on your terraced field. For there the shield of the might was despised, the shield of Saul no longer loved with all. From the blood of the slain, from the place of the might, the bow of Jonathan did not turn back. The sword of Saul did not return unsatisfied. Saul and Jonathan, in life they were loved and admired, and in death they were not parted. They were swifter than eagles. They were stronger than lions. Daughters of Israel, weep for Saul, who clothed you in sackcloth and finery, who adored your garment with ornament of gold. How the mighty have fallen in battle! Jonathan lies slain on your head. I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. You are very dear to me. Your love for me was wonderful, more wonderful than that of woman. How the might have fallen, the weapons of war have perished. David anointed king of Judah. Chapter 2. In the course of time, David inquired of the Lord, should I go to one of the towns of Judah? He asked. The Lord said, go up. David asked, where shall I go? to Hebron? The Lord answered. So David went up there with his two wives, I, Ahinoam of Israel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. David also took the men who were with him, each with his family, and they settled in Hebron and its town. Then the men of Judah came to Hebron, and there they anointed David king over the tribe of Judah. When David was told that it was the men from Jabez Gilead who had buried Saul, 5. He sent a messenger to them to say to them, "The Lord bless you for showing this kindness to Saul, your master, by burying him. May the Lord now show you kindness and faithfulness, and I too will show you the same favor because you have done this. Now then, be strong and brave, for Saul your master is dead, and the peoples of Judah have anointed me king over them." War between the houses of David and Saul. Meanwhile, Abner, son of Ner, the commander of Saul's army, had taken Boshines, son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim. He made him king over Gilead, Ashuri, and Israel, and also of Abraham, Benjamin, and all Israel. Ishbosheth, then son of Saul, was 40 years old when he became king over Israel, and he reigned 2 years. The tribe of Judah, however, remained loyal to David. The length of time David was king in Hebron over Judah was 7 years and 6 months. Abner, son of Ner, together with the men of Ishbosheth, son of Saul, left Mahanaim and went to Gibeon. Joab, son of Yeruah, and David's men went out and met them at the pool of Gibeon. One group sat down on one side of the pool and one group on the other side. Then Abner had said to Joab, "Let's have some of the young men get up and fight hand to hand in front of us." "All right, let them do it," Joab said. So they stood up and were counted off 12 men for Benjamin and Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and 12 for David. Then each man grabbed his opportunity by head and thrust his dagger into his opponent's side, and they fell down together. So that place in Gibeon was called Hekas Hazurim. The battle that day was very fierce, and Abner and Israel were defeated by David's men. The three sons of Eruiah were there, Joab, Abishai, and Asahel. Now Asahel was as fleet-footed as a wild gazelle. He chased Abner, turning neither to the right nor to the left as he pursued him. Abner looked behind him and asked, "Is that you, Asahel?" "It is," he answered. Then Abner said to him, "Turn aside to the right or to the left. Take on one of the young men and strip him of his weapon." But Asahel would not stop chasing him. Again, Abner warned Asahel, "Stop chasing me. Why should I strike you down? How could I look your brother Joab in the face?" But Asahel refused to give up the pursuit. So Abner thrust the butt of his spear into Asahel's stomach, and the spear came out through his back. He fell there and died on the spot, and every man stopped when he came to the place where Asahel had fallen and died. But Joab and Abishai pursued Abner, and as the sun was setting, they came to the hill of Amman, near Gia, on the way to the wasteland of Gibeon. Then the men of Benjamin laid behind Abner. They formed themselves into a group and took their stand on top of a hill. Abner called out to Joab, "Must the sword devour forever? Don't you realize that this will end in bitterness? How long before you are to order your men to stop pursuing their fellow Israelites?" Joab answered, "As sure as God lives, if you had not spoken, the men would have continued pursuing them until morning." So Joab blew the trumpet, and all the troops came to a halt. They no longer pursued Israel, nor did they fight anymore. All that night, Abner and his men marched through the Arabas. They crossed the Jordan, continued through the morning hours, and came to Mahanaim. Then Joab stopped pursuing Abner and assembled the whole army beside Asahel. Nine of David's men were found missing, but David's men had killed 360 Benjamins who were with Abner. They took Asahel and buried him in his father's tomb at Bethlehem. Then Joab and his men marched all night and arrived at Hebron by daybreak. Chapter 3. The war between the house of Saul and the house of David lasted a long time. David grew stronger then and stronger, while the house of Saul grew weaker and weak. Sons were born to David in Hebron. His firstborn was Amnon, the son of Ahinoam of Israel. His second, Kilib, the son of Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. The third, Absalom, the son of Maacah, daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. The fourth, Adoniah, the son of Haggis. The fifth, Shephatian, the son of Abital. And the sixth, Ithream, the son of David's wife Elga. These were born to David in Hebron. Abner goes over to David during the war between the house of Saul and the house of David. Abner had been strengthening his own position in the house of Saul. Now Saul had a concubine named Livzah, daughter of Ahiah, and Isa Bosnes, and said to Abner, "Why did you sleep with my father's concubine?" Abner was very angry because of what she said, so he answered, "Am I a dog's head on the Judah side? This very day I am loyal to the house of your father Saul and to his family and friends. I haven't handed you over to David. Yet now you accuse me of an offense in serving this woman. May God deal with Abner, be it ever so severely, if I do not do for David what the Lord promised him on oath, and transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul, and establish David's throne over Israel and Judah from Dan to Beersheba." Ishiboshi did not dare to say another word to Abner because he was afraid of him. Then Abner sent messengers on his behalf to say to David, "Whose land is it? Make an agreement with me, and I will help you bring all Israel over to you." "Good," said David, "I'll make an agreement with you, but I demand one thing of you: do not come into my presence unless you bring Michal, daughters of Saul, when you come to see me." Then David sent messengers to Ishiboshi, Bosses, son of Saul, demanding, "Give me my wife Michal, whom I betrothed to myself for the price of 100 Philistines' foreskin." So Ishiboshi gave order and had her taken away from her husband, Paltiel, son of Laisi. Her husband, however, went with her, weeping behind her all the way of Bahurim. Then Abner said to him, "Go back home." So she went back. Abner conferred with the elders of Israel and said, "For some time you have wanted to make David your king. Now do it, for the Lord promised David, 'By my servant David I will rescue my people Israel from the hand of the Philistines and from the hand of all the enemies.'" Abner also spoke to the Benjamins in person. Then he went to Hebron to tell David everything that Israel and the whole tribe of Benjamin wanted to do. When Abner, who had 20 men with him, came to David at Hebron, David prepared a feast for him and his men. Then Abner said to David, "Let me go at once and assemble all Israel for my Lord and the king, so that they may make a covenant with you, and then you may rule over all that your heart desires. So David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. Yoab murders Abner. Just then David's men and Yoab returned from a rapid and brought with them a great deal of plunder. But Abner was no longer with David in Hebron, because David had sent him away, and he had gone in peace. When Joab and all the soldiers with him arrived, he was told Abner, son of Ner, had come to the king, and that the king had sent him away, and that he had gone in peace. So Joab went to the king and said, "What have you done? Look, Abner came to. Why did you let him go? Now he is gone. You know, Abner, son of Ner, he came to deceive you and observe your movement and find out everything you are doing." Joab then left David and sent a messenger after Abner, and they brought him back from the cistern of Sirah. But David did not know it. Now when Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside into an inner chamber, as if to speak with him privately, and there to avenge the blood of his brother Asahel. Joab stabbed him in the stomach, and he died. Later, when David heard about this, he said, "I and my kingdom are forever innocent before the Lord concerning the blood of Abner, son of Ner. May his blood pour on the head of Joab and on his whole family. May Joab's family never be without someone who has learning, sore, or leprosy, or who leans on a crutch, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks food." Joab and his brother Abisai murdered Abner because he had killed their brother Asahel in the battle at Gibeon. Then David said to Joab and all the people with him, "Tear your clothes and put on sackcloth and walk in mourning in front of Abner." King David himself walked beyond the bier. They buried Abner in Hebron, and the king went around at Abner's tomb. All the people went also. The king sang this lament for Abner. "Should Abner have died as the lowlies die? Your hands were not bound, your feet were not fettered. You fell as one falls before the wicked," and all the people wept over him again. Then they all came and asked David to eat something while it was still day. But David took an oath, saying, "May God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if I taste the bread or anything else before the sun sets." All the people took note and were pleased. Indeed, everything the king did pleased them. So on that day, all the people there and all Israel knew that the king had no part in the murder of Abner, son of Ner. Then the king said to his men, "Do you not realize that a commander and a great man has fallen in Israel this day? And today, though I am the anointed king, I am weak, and these sons of Yeruah are too strong for me. May the Lord repay the evildoer according to his evil deeds." Chapter 4. Ishbosheth murdered. When Ishbosheth, son of Saul, heard that Abner had died in Hebron, he lost courage, and all Israel became alarmed. Now Saul's son had two men who were leaders of raiding bands. One was named Bana, and the other Legab. They were sons of Rimmon the Beerothi from the tribe of Benjamin. Beeroth is considered part of Benjamin, because the people of Beeroth fled to Gittaim and have resided there as a foreigner to this day. Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son who has lame in both feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Israel. His nurse picked him up and fled, but as she had to leave, he fell and became disabled. His name was Mephibosheth. Now Regab and Baana, the son of Rimmon, the Berothite, set out for the house of Isboset, and they arrived there in the hot of the day, while he was taking his noonday rest. They went into the inner part of the house as if to get some heat, and they stabbed him in the stomach. Then Regab and his brother Baana slipped away. They had gone into the house while he was lying on the bed in his bedroom. After they stabbed and killed him, they cut off his head, taking it with them. They traveled all night by way of the Arab. They brought the head of Isboset to David at Hebron and said to the king, "Here is the head of Isboset, son of Saul, your enemy who tried to kill you. This day the Lord has avenged my lord the king against Saul and his offspring." David answered Regab and his brother Baana, the son of Rimmon, the Berothite, "As sure as the Lord lives, who has delivered me out of every trouble. When someone told me Saul is dead and thought he was bringing good news, I seized him and put him to death in Ziklag. That was the reward I gave him for his news. How much more when wicked men have killed an innocent man in his own house and on his own bed? Should I not now demand his blood from your hand and rid the earth of you?" So David gave an order to his men, and they killed them. They cut off their hands and feet and hung the bodies by the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Isboset and buried it in Abner's tomb at Hebron. David becomes king of Israel. All the tribe of chapter 5 of Israel came to David at Hebron and said, "We are your own flesh and blood. In the past, while Saul was king over you, you were the one who led Israel on their military campaigns. And the Lord said to you, 'You will shepherd my people, Israel, and you will become their ruler.'" When all the elders of Israel had come to King David at Hebron, the king made a covenant with them at Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. David was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned 40 years in Hebron. He reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned over all Israel and Judah 33 years. David conquered Jerusalem. The king and his men marched to Jerusalem to attack the Jebusites who lived there. The Jebusite and said to David, "You will not get in here. Even the blind and the lame can ward you off." They thought, "David cannot get in here." Nevertheless, David captured the fortress of Zion, which is the city of David. On that day, David had said, "Anyone who conquers the Jebusites will have to use the water shaft to reach those lame and blind who are David's enemies." That is why they say, "The blind and lame will not enter the palace." David then took up residence in the fortress and called in the city of David. He built up the area around it from the terraces inward, and he became more and more powerful because the Lord God Almighty was with him. Now Hiram, king of Tyre, sent envoys to David along with cheddars, logs, and carpenters and stone masons, and they built a place for David. Then David knew that the Lord had established him as a king of Israel and had exalted his kingdom for the sake of his people Israel. After he left Hebron, David took more concubines and wives in Jerusalem, and more sons and daughters were born to him. These are the names of the children born to him there: Samua, Shobab, Nadan, Solomon, Ibnar, Elsua, Nephim, Yapia, Elizama, Elidada, and Eliphelet. David defeated the Philistines. When the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king of Israel, they went up in full force to search for him. But David heard about it and went down to the stronghold. Now the Philistines had come and spread out in the valley of Rephaim. So David inquires of the Lord, "Shall I go and attack the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand?" The Lord answered him, "Go, for I will sure deliver the Philistines into your hands." So David went to Baal Perazim, and there he defeated them. He said, "As waters break out, the Lord has broken out against him, my enemies before me." So that place was called Baal Perazim. The Philistines abandoned their idols there, and David and his men carried them off. Once more the Philistines came up and spread out in the valley of Rephaim. So David inquired of the Lord, and he answered, "Do not go straight up, but circle around behind them and attack them in front of the uh, poplar trees. As soon as you hear the sound of marching in the tops of the poplar trees, move quickly, because that will mean the Lord has gone out in front of you to strike the Philistines' army." So David did as the Lord commanded him, and he struck down the Philistines all the way from Gibeon to Gezer. Gezer 6, 7, 6 to 7. The ark brought to Jerusalem. Chapter 6. David again brought together all the able young men of Israel, 30,000. He and all his men went to Bala in Judah to bring up from there the ark of God, which is called by the name of the Lord Almighty, who is enthroned between the cherubim on the ark. They set the ark of God on a new cart and brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill. Uzzah and Ahio, sons of Abinadab, were guiding the new cart with the ark of God on it, and Ahio was walking in front of it. David and all Israel were celebrating with all their might before the Lord with castanach, harp, lyres, timbrel, sistrum, and cymbals. When they came to the threshing floor of Nacon, Uzzah reached out and took hold of the ark of God. Because the oxen stumbled, the Lord's anger burned against Uzzah because of the 11th act. Therefore God struck him down, and he died there beside the ark of God. Then David was angry because the Lord's wrath had broken out against Uzzah, and to this day that place is called Perez Uzzah. David was afraid of the Lord then, and said, "How can the ark of the Lord ever come to me?" He was not willing to take the ark of the Lord to be with him in the city of David. Instead, he took it to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. The ark of the Lord remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite for 3 months, and the Lord blessed him and his entire household. Now King David was told, "The Lord has blessed the household of Obed-Edom and everything he has because of the ark of God." So David went to bring up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with rejoicing. When those who were carrying the ark of the Lord had taken 6 steps, he sacrificed a bull and a flattened calf, wearing a linen ephod. David was dancing before the Lord with all his might, while he and all Israel were bringing up the ark of the Lord with a shout and the sound of trumpet. As the ark of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched from a window. And when she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him in heart. They brought the ark of the Lord and set it in its place inside the tent that David had pitched for it. And David sacrificed burnt offering and fellowship offering before the Lord. After he had finished sacrificing the burnt offering and the fellowship offering, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord Almighty. Then he gave a loaf of bread, a cake of dates, and a cake of raisins to each person in the whole crowd of Israel. Both men, women, and all the people went to their homes. When David returned home to bless his household, Michal, daughter of Saul, came out to meet him and said, "How the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, going around half-naked in full view of the slave girl of his servant as any vulgar fellow would." David said to Michal, "It was before the Lord who chose me rather than your father or anyone from his house when he appointed me ruler over the Lord's people Israel. I will celebrate before the Lord. I will become even more undignified than this, and I will be humiliated in my own eyes. But by these slave girls you spoke of, I will be held in honor." And Michal, daughter of Saul, had no children to the death of her death. God's promise to David after the king was settled in his palaces and the Lord had given him rest from all his enemies around him. He said to Nathan the prophet, "Here I am, living in a house of cedar, where the ark of God remains in a tent." Nathan replied to the king, "Whatever you have in mind, go ahead and do it, for the Lord is with you." But that night the word of the Lord came to Nathan, saying, "Go and tell my servant David, this is what the Lord says. Are you the one to build me a house to dwell in? I have not dwelt in a house from the day I brought the Israelites up out of Egypt to this day. I have been moving from place to place with the tent as my dwelling. Wherever I have moved with all the Israelites, did I ever say to anyone of them, rulers whom I commanded to shepherd my people Israel, why have you not built me a house of cedar? Now then, tell my servant David, this is what the Lord Almighty say. I took you from the pastures, from tending the flock, and appointed you ruler over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone, and I have cut off all your enemies from before you. Now I will make your name great like the names of the greatest men on earth. And I will provide a place for my people Israel and will plant them so that they can have a home of their own and no longer be disturbed. Wicked people will not oppress them anymore as they did at the beginnings, and have done ever since the time I appointed leaders over my people Israel. I will also give you rest from all your enemies. The Lord declares to you that the Lord himself will establish a house for you. When your days are over and you rest with your ancestors, I will reserve your offspring to succeed you, your own flesh and blood, and I will establish his kingdom. He is the one who built a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he will be my son. When he does wrong, I will punish him with a rod wielded by men, with a flogging inflicted by human hands, but my love will never be taken away from him, as I took it away from Saul, whom I removed from before you. Your house and your kingdom will endure forever before me. Your throne will be established forever. Nathan reported to David all the words of this entire revelation. David's prayer. The king David went in and sat before the Lord and said, "Who am I, sovereign Lord? And what is my family? Then you have brought me this far, and as if this were not enough in your sight. Sovereign Lord, you have also spoken about the future of the house of your servant, and this decrees sovereign Lord is for a mere human. What more can David say to you? For you know your servant, sovereign Lord. For the sake of your word and according to your will, you have done this great thing and made it known to your servant. How great you are, sovereign Lord! There is no one like you, and there is no no God but you, as we have heard with our own ears. And who is like your people Israel, the one nation on earth that God went out to redeem as a people for himself, and to make a name for himself, and to perform great and awesome wonders by driving out nations and their gods from before your people, whom you redeemed from Egypt. You have established your people Israel as your very own forever, and you, Lord, have become their God. And now, Lord God, keep forever the promise you have made concerning your servant and his house. Do as you promised, so that your name will be great forever. Then people say, the Lord Almighty is God of Israel, and the house of your servant David will be established in your sight. Lord Almighty, God of Israel, you have revealed this to your servant, saying, I will build a house for you. So your servant has found the courage to pray this prayer to you. Sovereign Lord, you are good. Your covenant is trustworthy, and you have promised these good things to your servant. Now be pleased to bless the house of your servant, that it may continue forever in your sight. For you, sovereign Lord, have spoken, and with your blessing, the house of your servant will be blessed forever. Amen.